In the turbulent heart of the 19th century, when the United States stood divided, a simple man, born in a log cabin in rural Kentucky, rose as a symbol of hope and courage. Abraham Lincoln was not just a president, he was a leader who, with humility and determination, guided a nation on the brink of collapse toward a future of unity and freedom. This is the story of a poor boy who learned to read by candlelight, who faced defeats, rejections, and losses, yet never gave up believing in the power of justice. A journey marked by inner and outer battles, by choices that would change the course of history. Today, you will discover how Lincoln transformed adversity into purpose and why his life continues to inspire millions across the world. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a small log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky. His cradle was simplicity itself, a dirt floor, rough-hewn wooden walls, and very few resources to sustain the family. From his earliest days, Lincoln knew poverty and hardship. When his mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, died of illness in 1818, the boy was only 9 years old. That tragedy carved deep scars, but also awakened in him a premature sense of responsibility and resilience, even amid scarcity. Lincoln developed an insatiable curiosity. Books were rare, yet he seized every opportunity to learn. He borrowed volumes from neighbors, read late at night by candlelight, and even used charcoal to write on wooden planks and cabin walls when paper was unavailable. His formal schooling amounted to less than a year in total, but his self-taught discipline turned him into a young man with sharp reasoning and an ever-growing thirst for knowledge. This hunger for learning would be the cornerstone of his future path. As a teenager, Lincoln's life was shaped by relentless physical labor. He split rails, plowed fields, and worked for neighbors to help support the household. That rural toughness gave him endurance and instilled in him a profound appreciation for hard work and fairness. Watching the struggles of ordinary people left him with a lifelong sensitivity to inequality and injustice realities that he would later bring into the political arena. At the same time, Lincoln cultivated an unusual gift for storytelling and public speaking. He was observant, witty, and had a way of explaining ideas that ordinary folks could understand. His ability to connect through words earned him admiration, even without social rank or formal education. The skinny frontier boy with little more than dreams was beginning to shape the character that would one day carry him to the highest office in the land. As Abraham Lincoln grew, his hunger for knowledge set him apart from those around him. He carried books with him while working as a farmhand, ferryman, and rail splitter. Shakespeare's plays, the Bible, Aesop's fables, and law texts became his constant companions. To Lincoln, education was the only key that could unlock a future beyond poverty, and he pursued it relentlessly. By his early 20s, the Lincoln family had relocated to Illinois, where Abraham found new opportunities. He became known as a captivating storyteller in community gatherings and built a reputation for honesty that earned him the lifelong nickname Honest Abe. Though awkward in appearance, lanky and rough around the edge, his character commanded respect. The law soon captured his attention. By day, he worked odd jobs: shopkeeper, surveyor, laborer. By night, he studied law entirely on his own, poring over borrowed books until exhaustion. In 1836, through sheer determination, Lincoln passed the bar exam and became a licensed attorney. His rise from self-taught student to practicing lawyer became a living example of how perseverance could break down barriers. Lincoln quickly distinguished himself in the courtroom. He spoke plainly, never indulging in pompous rhetoric. His clarity, integrity, and sense of justice made him a persuasive advocate. Clients trusted him, jurors listened attentively, and adversaries respected him. He became more than a lawyer. He became a mediator, a peacemaker, and someone who understood that law was not just about statutes, it was about people. This balance of intellect and empathy laid the groundwork for the leadership qualities that would later carry him into the national spotlight. Lincoln's desire to serve the community extended beyond the courtroom. In 1832, he launched his first campaign for the Illinois state legislature. It was a resounding failure. He lost badly, but instead of retreating, Lincoln resolved to try again. 2 years later, he ran once more and, this time, he won. It was the start of his long, arduous political career as a state legislator. Lincoln championed infrastructure improvements, roads, canals, and railways, believing that economic growth could benefit ordinary people. His plain-spoken speeches attracted attention, but his political journey was anything but smooth. He suffered setbacks, faced financial struggles, and endured personal heartbreak. Periods of deep melancholy shadowed his life, but resilience always pulled him forward. In 1846, Lincoln was elected to the U.S. Congress. There, he confronted national dilemmas head-on: the Mexican-American War, the expansion of slavery, and disputes over federal authority. His outspoken opposition to what he viewed as an unjust war cost him popularity. By the end of his term, he returned to Illinois, largely obscure on the national stage, yet those defeats and disappointments were invaluable. Each failure sharpened his perspective and deepened his understanding of perseverance. Lincoln learned that leadership was not measured by constant victories, but by the courage to keep standing after every fall. His setbacks carved him into the kind of leader the turbulent times would one day demand. Though he could not yet see it, the challenges ahead would test his character beyond anything he had ever known. By the 1850s, America was tearing itself apart. As new states were added to the Union, the question loomed: would they permit slavery? The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854 reignited fierce debates. Abraham Lincoln, then a practicing lawyer, could no longer remain on the sidelines. He returned to politics. Determined to confront what he saw as a profound moral wrong, Lincoln's debates with Senator Stephen Douglas in 1858 electrified the nation. Although Lincoln lost the Senate race, his words traveled far. His assertion that a house divided against itself cannot stand struck at the core of the national crisis. He insisted that the country could not endure permanently half slave and half free. These bold positions made him a national figure almost overnight. In 1860, Lincoln was nominated as the Republican candidate for president. His humble background and reputation for honesty resonated with ordinary Americans, while his moral clarity appealed to those alarmed by slavery's spread. When he won the presidency, Southern states erupted. To them, Lincoln's election was proof that the North intended to dismantle their way of life. Secession began, and with it, the Union unraveled. When Lincoln took the oath of office in March 1861, he inherited a fractured nation. The tall, self-educated lawyer from the frontier now bore the responsibility of preserving the United States itself. Ahead lay war, bloodshed, and the greatest test of leadership the country had ever faced. In April 1861, the Civil War erupted with a Confederate attack on Fort Sumter. Lincoln, as commander-in-chief, faced a nightmare scenario: a country fractured, armies unprepared, and loyalties divided. The war quickly became longer and bloodier than anyone expected. Early Union defeats brought harsh criticism, and many doubted Lincoln's ability to lead. But Lincoln refused to waver. He understood that the conflict was not only a military struggle, but also a moral one. By 1863, he saw the opportunity to redefine the war's meaning. With the Emancipation Proclamation, he declared freedom for all enslaved people in Confederate territory. What had begun as a battle for Union survival now became a crusade for human liberty. The decision was monumental. Millions were set on a path to freedom, and African American soldiers joined the Union Army, fighting for their own liberation. Internationally, the proclamation reframed the conflict, discouraging European powers from supporting the Confederacy. Lincoln's words transformed the war into something larger than territory. It became a fight for the soul of the nation. The challenges remained immense. Casualties mounted, critics grew louder, and Lincoln bore the weight of personal grief, including the death of his young son Willie. Yet his vision of freedom gave the nation a moral compass. Through anguish and sacrifice, Lincoln stood resolute, believing that liberty was not only possible, but inevitable. By the spring of 1865, the long nightmare of the Civil War neared its end. Union armies pushed deep into Confederate territory. On April 9th, General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse, signaling victory for the Union. For Lincoln, it was the fulfillment of years of struggle, the Union preserved, slavery struck down, and a chance for reconciliation within reach. In his final speeches, Lincoln called not for vengeance, but for healing. His words, "with malice toward none, with charity for all," captured his vision of a future where the wounds of war could be mended with compassion. He dreamed of a nation rebuilt on freedom and unity, but destiny intervened cruelly. On the evening of April 14, 1865, Lincoln attended a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. There, he was shot by John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer. The president died the next morning. The nation plunged into mourning, stunned by the loss of the man who had guided them through their darkest trial. Lincoln's death elevated him instantly to the realm of legend. His life became a symbol not only of American endurance, but of universal values: honesty, perseverance, justice, and hope. From a frontier cabin to the presidency, his story remains one of the most inspiring in history. More than a leader of his own time, Lincoln became a timeless reminder that greatness can rise from the humblest beginnings. The life of Abraham Lincoln is a journey through poverty, hardship, and repeated failures, yet it culminates in greatness. He demonstrated that true strength lies not in never falling, but in rising again after every fall. Lincoln taught us that knowledge is power, that integrity builds trust, and that justice must be the guiding light of leadership. His legacy endures as an invitation to each of us to pursue our dreams even when they seem distant, to stand for what is right even when it is difficult, and to never underestimate the impact of our actions on the future. Lincoln did more than preserve a nation. He defined its moral purpose. He showed the world that freedom and equality are principles worth every sacrifice. As we remember Lincoln, we remember the power of resilience and the courage to pursue a higher calling. His life challenges us to face our own struggles with determination and hope, knowing that like him we too can transform adversity into transformation. And now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? And what inspired you most about Abraham Lincoln's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Support this video by leaving a like, and help spread these stories of hope and perseverance to others. Your voice keeps history alive.